Gosh, I look like an idiot. Well, hi, guys. So you're probably wondering, what am I wearing? And I'm wondering the same thing myself, but, really, I need more subscribers. So, let me talk about this outfit. It's really hot out today, again, because this is the hellscape that is known as California. And I was gifted this really cool faux white fur vest, and I thought it could channel some Arctic energy with me today. Also, in the vest was 2 packs of Marlboro menthols. And the weird thing is, I'm not surprised by that at all. I mean, I would expect Marlboro menthols to be in this vest, to be honest. And I'm not going to talk about the wig either. So, screw you. So, let's get down to this water drinking. Today, we have chalices. You can notice that there is some water already in them, and that is because I already did a take before this, and I am not experienced enough with video editing, so I'm just doing one-shot things, like I'm the guy that did Old Boy or something. Baby steps. So here's my already opened bottle of water, because I'm not going to waste water. This comes from the Refreshe Mountains. I am sure this is by the Himalayas or something. It's very exotic. You can only get it in Safa Way, exotic stores. So we're going to start now. I'm going to pour them into my little glass goblets. Now, reminder, I already did this, so I'm like really full on water. So let's hope I don't mess this up. Here we go. Oh my god. Okay, let's go with Big Fancy now. To hydration. Oh my god, I did it. I want to die. Alright. So today we're going to talk about history. And this is specifically Chicano history in California. I think this is a really important subject to understand. And since I took a history class about this, I'm kind of an expert. So let's set the stage here. Then I'm going to be looking at the script on and off because I'm not a professional and I probably never will be. And, well, whatever it can do to educate people. So, Lemon Grove, California, 1930. The site of the very first victory against segregation in the United States of America. White parents in Lemon Grove, California were beginning to grow concerned with the rising number of Mexican students attending Lemon Grove Grammar School. The board of trustees of this school wanted to segregate the Mexican children from their white peers because they believed that these children were inherently somehow immoral and dirty. Sounds like a bunch of great parents, huh? So, the idea was to send these children to a frickin' refurbished barn for Americanization education. And the thing is, these kids were already in these frickin' Americanization classes from the original school. And the whole point of these classes is to be like, oh, America's so great, and you should really love Anglo-Saxon values, and you really shouldn't speak Spanish, and your culture is kind of dumb, and we're right and you're wrong. And so the school board felt that the parents would just be okay with these children being separated. Like, they're like, oh, they know their kids are deficient. This is their words. And this is completely ignoring the fact that these kids were receiving a second-rate education because they were deemed from the very start to be deficient by these racist white teachers. So let's do a little background on this. In 1930, half of all children in Lemon Grove, California were Mexican, or at least a Mexican lineage. Many of them were actually refugees escaping the violence from the Mexican Revolution of 1910. And also, it should be noted that at this time, 500,000 people were deported from the United States to Mexico, and many of them were actually American citizens.
But this doesn't happen now, does it? No, it doesn't.
The large community was not going to go down without a fight. They weren't even notified ahead of time about any of this, and it rightfully pissed them off. It, like, all of a sudden, the kids just go to school, and on January 5th, 1931, I'm going to kind of read from the screen, trying to be a little... Jerome T. Green, principal of Lemon Grove Grammar School, acting under instructions from the school trustees, he stood at the door and admitted all students except for the Mexican pupils. And basically, he was telling the kids that they don't belong here and they could not enter. And he instructed them to go to the barn to go to school there, which was across the train tracks.
And I don't think you could get more literal with the metaphor, but I don't think white people in 1930 were really,
aware of all this. So the community was like, rightfully so, F you a-holes. And with the help of the Mexican consulate, they got legal counsel and support. Because they're like, we're going to beat you up in the courtroom. But you should probably get beaten up in real life too, because you're all really mean and racist. So the family of Roberto Alvarez, a 12-year-old boy who attended the school, they sued the board of trustees. And this little boy would be the face of the community in this battle. The family of Mr. Alvarez and the Mexican community at large would win this case. And this would be the very first successful desegregation case in the United States. The Lemon Grove incident helped shut down the Bliss Bill, which would have redefined Mexicans as Indians, because at the time Mexicans were labeled as white people, because this is hearkening back to the Mexican-American War, where Anglos thought that Mexicans could learn to be European because they had European names and they had a European language. They just didn't have a European culture, so they thought, oh, we can just teach European into them. And segregation, though, would continue in the state as large until 1947, when parents in Santa Ana won a statewide ruling which would prohibit the act. And this led up, to 1954 with Brown versus the Board of Education, which would end segregation in all schools in the United States altogether. But, except for it kind of didn't, because there's suburbs and all other stuff. But I'm going to get back to that in a later video. Basically, this activism and these events, this parallels several moments in Chicano history in California and America as well. So 10 years later, you have the Zoot Suit riots, where teenagers were deemed a threat to the Los Angeles community just because of the clothes they wore. And 20 years after that, you have the East LA blowouts, in which children were punished for speaking Spanish in class and even just trying to use the bathroom at lunch. So, the laws changed, but people stayed shitheads for the next 30 frickin' years. And people are still kind of shitheads to this day. It's really ridiculous. Though, that said, so much good has prevailed in the face of this racist system, all because a community in the suburb of San Diego stood up and fought for what they knew was right and knew that they were treated poorly. They held America to the values it purports it's supposed to have. And this started from one small town and it rippled to all of America, from San Diego to the Brown versus Board of Education. And, I think we should really understand this stuff, because just 40, 50 years ago, that place was Mexico. And these kids, they're the families of these people, some of them, they could have been living in this Lemon Grove area for decades. They're all of a sudden deemed outsiders once the United States takes over, even though they've already lived there. And that's completely asinine to me, but whatever. So basically, I'm going to have all the sources in the bottom, and there's going to be 3 of them. So one of them comes from the Zinn Project, which comes from Howard Zinn, who is a famous political scientist who he wanted to educate on the real history of the United States, because you don't actually learn any of this stuff in school. You learn what's palatable, what like you can, what they want you to understand, not something that would question the system and understand the racist foundations of our country. Another one is from actually the San Diego History Center, which does a very in-depth look into this, and you can read all about it. I mean, it's not that long of a read, it's really short. I mean, it's a little bit longer than the Zen one, but you could just do it in like 10 minutes, I'm sure. And the third is actually this documentary about the Lemon Grove incident itself, which I got a lot of information from. And that one, super awesome. And they've got these dramatization events, and you get really engaged into it. And it just pretty much, it's a great documentary. So I'm going to put those in the description. I hope you have a great night. Stay hydrated. Okay, bye.